everything we've learned so far you could actually use to make a sequencer. I'm just going to run you through the steps here because there are a few extra things. But if you think about how it works and if you look at the kind of connections between things, we should be able to piece it together. So let's go ahead and go in here to Ableton Live. And I'm going to go ahead and delete these 4 here. I don't really need these. And I'm going to delete the mixer. I'm going to just put everything kind of back to a really basic setup. So I've got my oscillator 1 is going to my filter and into my amplifier, and the amplifier is going out to my output here. And I've got an LFO, an amp envelope, and an amp filter. I'm going to take the LFO out of the equation. So now we just have an amp envelope and an amp and a filter envelope. I'll change the order on these just to make things maybe, I'm not really sure which is easier or not. But okay, so what we're going to need here when we come into this is we're going to need from the utility section. Can we get a divider? Oh no, it doesn't have. Let's see here, let's get the clock input, which we took out earlier, but now I'm going to put the clock back in because now we need the clock. And I think this is probably good for what we want to do. And go back to Bento Box and use the 8 steps sequencer here. Boop. And I'm going to put the 8-step sequencer here in front of my filter and amplifier envelopes. Now, what we want to do is we want to make it so that this 8 steps thing here controls the pitch of our oscillator. So I'm just going to get rid of that oscillator 1. And if you want to, when you want to get rid of something, you can click on it. I think you can click on it. No, you can't click on it anymore. But you can just click the input, or I think you can just like click the input, or you can just take the output and you can just take it and move it around a little bit. That's how you can delete stuff. This one here. So what we're going to do here is the note in is, sorry, I keep connecting that up. The note in is not going to go to anything. The gate in actually also doesn't really need to go to anything, so I'm going to go ahead and take these away. So our outputs are still set up, and our input is everything's going to come from this sequencer here. So I'm going to go from this clock into the, I think the play. And let's hit go. Hold on, we need to set this up right. The gate of this will go into the gate of this probably. There we go. Okay, so see what I did was I got the gate of the clock going into the gate input of this. So every time this sends a gate message out, it's going to hit this and it's going to move it forward here. And this one is sending the gate out by 16th notes. So with this tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Now it's getting the tempo from the external source, which is our sequencer in this case. So it shows us here it's 85 BPMs, and we want it to reset every 16th one. So I'm going to click the reset button over from here. I'm going to drag a reset message from here to the reset in. So now everything will line up. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, like that. Okay, so we have that there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have this do some stuff over here. So first of all, the pitch out of our sequencer is going to go to the input of our oscillator. So we're going to take this pitch here, go to the input of our oscillator right there, and then we're going to have the gate from these, each one of these steps, the gate can go over here to our gate inputs on our filter and our amplifier. So now once we hit this, there we go. There we go. So now it's hitting it every time. And now we'll just glide these around. Right? Mess with this a little bit. Let's mess with. Bring it down. Mess around with this. You can see how this works here like this. And it's just playing it for me right there. So that's like a basic setup for this. Let's just go over it one more time. I've got my clock output here going into the gate, is going into the gate input of my sequencer. The sequencer is what's going to make everything happen here. And then the reset button here goes to the reset button over here, because we want it to line up. That's going to realign everything. Then the pitch from the bento box from the sequencer here, let me just type sequencer here. The pitch from the sequencer output is going to go into the oscillator, because that's where our pitch is coming from. And then the gate output is going to go into the filter and the amp envelopes. And Jelani says hard. Yeah, I agree. And this is cool stuff. You can set it up and you can mess around with it and have it do whatever you want. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make it so whenever I hit my keyboard, it's going to actually play different pitches on my sequencer. So we're going to go into Ableton Live here real quick. I'm going to turn this off so it stops playing for a second. And the way we do this is I set my note in from my note in module here, and I set the pitch. The pitch here is going to go to the pitch on my sequencer. So I set the pitch here, it goes up to the pitch on my sequencer. And what that's going to do is every time I hit a key on my keyboard, it's going to change the pitch of what the sequencer is doing. So if I here, let's hit the, and go up. Right, so there's that one. Right, so you can hear how that works there. Only with Reaktor. Well, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that question. I'm using Reaktor right now, but sequencers all act basically the same, but they all act basically the same, but they're all different as well. So it really depends on which sequencer you're using and how you have it set up. In this case, this is Reaktor. So what I'm going to do here is, let's show you my keyboard so you can see what I'm doing with my hand. There we go, there's that. Cool, okay. So over here, let me just move this over a little bit so you can see it better. So you can see this here. I'm going to go ahead and And you could go through and make these, like some sequencers allow you to like right click and hit randomize and stuff like that. This one doesn't have like a randomized feature on it. So you have to program this stuff in note by note. I don't really do a whole lot of sequencing stuff like this because it kind of drives me nuts to put the notes in like this. But a lot of people like it. So you should definitely check this stuff out and mess with this. And you can have it going, like I only took the other oscillators out just to make it a little bit easier to see what's going on, but you don't need to take all those oscillators out that we were making before everything. So that is the kind of basics of working with the sequencers in Reaktor. So that's up with that. Any other thoughts or questions for me? I'm going to go ahead and pull my Ableton Live over here because we don't need to see that anymore, I think. Cool.